The scent of roasted plantain still lingered in the morning air when Amara bent down to arrange the last bunch of bananas on her stall. Her hands moved quickly, rhythmically, the way they had every morning for the past 7 years. The red umbrella above her buzzed softly with trapped heat, and around her the roadside pulsed with life. Okada horns, schoolchildren laughing, hawkers calling out prices. It was chaos, but it was her chaos, her peace, until it wasn't. The shout came like thunder. "Witch!" Amara looked up, blinking into the sunlight. A group of men, faces she recognized from her late husband's compound, were crossing the road toward her. Their eyes carried something different today. Not sorrow, not pity, just hate. "Amara Nwakego!" one of them barked. "You think we don't know what you did?" Her heart dropped. "What are you talking about?" "Don't pretend. Your husband died healthy. No sickness, no sign. And now you sit here selling fruit like nothing happened." People began to gather, a circle forming, silent, watching. Amara clutched her wrapper tighter. "Obinna had asthma," she whispered. "He had an attack." But they weren't listening. Another voice shouted. "She used charms to tie him, ask anybody!" And then before she could blink, someone kicked over her basket of oranges. Another overturned the table. Her bananas spilled across the dirt road like broken pieces of her dignity. She screamed. "Stop! Please! That's all I have!" But they didn't stop. One of them lit a match. The flame danced for a second, small and cruel, before it found the kerosene someone had poured on the wooden stall. The fire whooshed up instantly. People stepped back. Some gasped. No one moved to help. Amara fell to her knees, sobbing. Her entire stall, her business, her savings, her independence crackled and burned in front of her. The eldest man among them, her late husband's uncle, turned and spat on the ground. "This is what happens to witches!" And just like that, they walked away. The crowd eventually dispersed. A few people muttered apologies. One woman placed a hand on her shoulder, but Amara didn't feel it. Her eyes were on the ashes. By the time the fire died, so had something inside her. But something else, quieter, colder, had begun to stir. That night her children asked for dinner. She boiled water and gave them Gary. She didn't speak. Her eyes remained blank. But when they slept, curled beside her on the mat, she sat awake in the darkness. She had no stall, no savings, no husband, and no help. But she had something else. She had legs, she had hands, and she had a plan. She whispered it into the night like a prayer. "I will rise, even if I have to walk with nothing." What she didn't know, what no one knew, was that within a week a stranger's camera would find her, and the whole country would know her name. The next morning, Amara rose before the cocks crowed. The street was still dark, the air thick with dew, and her legs ached from sleeping on bare concrete. But she stood up anyway, slowly, deliberately. She tied her wrapper, lifted her old tray, now covered with sachets of pure water, boiled groundnuts, and chin-chin, and stepped into the road. No stall, no shade, no base, just her. She started from the street corner near the primary school. Children in ironed uniforms passed her, their noses upturned. Some mothers looked away, others whispered as they handed their children snacks from their car windows. They knew her story, the widow witch who burned her husband and lost her stall. She heard the whispers. She smiled anyway. "Pure water, 20 naira, sweet chin-chin for your pikin." Her voice was steady, her shoulders straight. One by one she approached people. Some ignored her, others waved her away. A few bought something, more out of pity than need. By noon the sun had baked her forehead, the sweat stung her eyes, but she kept walking, street to street, gate to gate. She had nothing left to protect, no pride, no ego. Just 2 children at home who needed to eat. By the 4th day, her feet blistered. By the 7th, her voice cracked when she spoke. But on the 10th day, everything changed. It started with a woman, soft-spoken, with big glasses, and a tote bag that said, Women empower women. She stopped when Amara approached her at the bus park. "How long have you been doing this?" the woman asked gently. Amara blinked, confused. "Doing what?" "This," she said, gesturing to the tray. "Walking all day. Selling." Amara looked down. "Since they burnt my stall." "Who burned it?" "My husband's family. They said I killed him, but he died in his sleep." The woman's eyes widened. "Do you mind if I take your picture?" Amara hesitated, then nodded. One picture, one smile. She didn't think much of it. But by evening, the picture was everywhere. Widowed woman wrongly accused of witchcraft, now hawking to feed her kids. Stand with Amara. Stand, this is Nigeria. It was on Twitter, on Instagram, on WhatsApp statuses. People were angry. People were inspired. My morning, her phone, barely holding a charge, buzzed non-stop. Unknown numbers, missed calls, messages. Then a bank alert. €5,000, then another. €10,000, €25,000, €100,000. Someone had dropped her story into a popular crowdfunding thread. Now people were sending money, sharing her account details, demanding justice. By sunset, Amara was staring at her phone, hands trembling. €684,000. It felt like a dream. But it wasn't the money that made her cry. It was the caption under one reposted photo. "This woman deserves a shot beside the people who tried to destroy her." She closed her eyes, heart pounding, because now she finally had a chance. And her in-laws, they had no idea what was coming. The compound of the Nwokoye family sat like a shrine, tall gates, old brick walls, and the haunting silence of history soaked in blood and pride. Just behind it, on an empty patch of land, overgrown with weeds and bad memories, Amara stood. She wore the same wrapper they'd mocked her in. Her scarf was neat, her face clean, but her eyes, those eyes, had changed. "This is the spot," she said softly. The agent beside her raised a brow. "Here, you sure?" She nodded. "Right here. I want the shop facing their gate." The man hesitated, then checked his file. "The land is available, yes, but madam, there might be—" "I don't care," she cut in. "Build it here, and make sure it's beautiful." He scribbled something quickly. "We'll start next week." As he left, Amara remained still. She could hear voices from the compound, laughter, someone pounding yam, music drifting faintly from a transistor radio. They had moved on, buried her husband, burned her source of income, tried to bury her too, but she was still standing. And now, she was building. Within days, cement bags appeared, then sand, iron rods, blocks. Curious neighbors peeked through fences. Some murmured prayers, others hissed under their breath. The same ones who watched her burn now watched her rise. "Wonders shall never end," someone whispered in passing, but Amara didn't flinch. She supervised every inch of the work, picking the tiles, choosing the glass doors, painting the signboard herself. Amara's Mart, fresh produce, honest prices, dignity served daily. 2 months passed like a dream. Donations continued. A foundation reached out. A women's co-op offered business support. Her children returned to school. She finally replaced her old phone. But the shop became her heartbeat. On opening day, the sun rose like a blessing, golden and bold. Amara wore a plain white gown, her late husband's picture tucked gently in her handbag. She didn't invite her in-laws, but they saw. From the window, from the gate, from the shadows. Cars parked along the dusty road. Cameras rolled, journalists came. Even the local chairman sent a rep. "This," said a woman from Vanguard News, "is the kind of story Nigeria needs." Amara just smiled. She didn't care about headlines. She cared about justice and healing. As the ribbon was cut and the crowd clapped, she glanced toward the compound. She couldn't see faces, but she could feel them watching, tense, curious, afraid. And then, as the first customer walked in, a loud voice barked from behind her. "You, so this is what you've been planning." She turned slowly. Her husband's elder brother, Akoli, stood by the gate, rage in his eyes. "You shame this family. You bring disgrace to our name." Amara didn't blink. She raised her chin and said quietly, "You tried to bury me in ashes. I built a throne from them." He started forward, but he didn't expect what happened next. A police van pulled up and stepped out, a face none of them saw coming. The police van door creaked open, and for a moment, everything paused. The crowd, the camera flashes, even Akoli's breath. Then, she stepped out. Inspector Ifeoma. Tall, unbothered. Her badge glinted beneath her black beret as she surveyed the scene like someone used to cleaning up other people's mess. Amara's eyes widened. She recognized the woman. Years ago, they'd both sold bread near the motor park in Umwaya. Life had pulled them in different directions, one into marriage and mourning, the other into law and justice. But here they were again. "I heard about the fire," Inspector Ifeoma said, eyes scanning the faces. The viral post, the donations, the shop. But what caught my attention, she looked directly at Akoli, was the arson complaint someone anonymously filed. "Against you." Akoli scoffed. "Complaint? What nonsense complaint? Who filed it?" Ifeoma ignored him. "You think because she's a widow she has no voice? Because she has no husband, she has no strength?" "She bewitched my brother," he barked, "and you stand here defending her?" Ifeoma stepped forward, now nose to nose with him. "Your brother had medical records. He was asthmatic. We pulled the file from the local clinic. The nurse confirmed his last visit." Silence. The crowd murmured. Amara's heart pounded. She hadn't expected this. She hadn't filed any complaint, but someone had. Ifeoma continued, voice sharp. "You and your brothers stormed her stall without evidence, accused her of witchcraft in public and burned her livelihood. That's arson, defamation, and mob action." He stepped back. "You can't prove anything. We don't need to." She reached into her folder and pulled out screenshots. "You went live on Facebook, do you remember? The video was taken down, but not before people saved it." She turned to Amara. "Do you wish to press charges?" Amara looked around, the stunned faces, the in-laws peering from behind gates, her children watching from the crowd. For a second, her fingers twitched. She had every right, every reason, but she breathed in and said, "No." Murmurs erupted. "Let the people judge him," she added. "Let him carry the shame like smoke on his clothes." Ifeoma smiled slightly, spoken like a queen. She turned to Akoli. "Even without charges, we'll be monitoring you. One step out of line and next time, you won't walk away." As the van pulled off, Akoli disappeared behind the gate, rage spilling from his eyes. The guests returned to the celebration. Cameras resumed, sales picked up, but a shift had happened. Not just in Amara's story, in the village itself. That evening, a local blog posted a headline that trended by nightfall. "Widow turns ashes into empire. Justice wears lipstick." At home, Amara sat with her children, counting the day's earnings. Her daughter looked up. "Mummy, are we rich now?" Amara smiled. "No, my love, but we're no longer begging." Just then, her phone buzzed. A message, unknown number. "We're launching a national campaign for women like you. We'd love you to speak at the summit." She read it twice, heart racing. Then whispered to herself, "They burned my stall, now I light fires with my story." 3 weeks later, Amara stood backstage at the Lagos Civic Centre, staring at her reflection in a tall, golden-framed mirror. She barely recognized the woman looking back. Elegant Ankara dress, neat cornrows, a dab of gloss, and that quiet steel in her eyes. Her name was printed boldly on the day's program. Panel speaker, Amara Nwaka, from ashes to impact. She had never been on a plane before, never stepped foot in Lagos. Yet here she was, flown in by the Women Rise Foundation, lodged in a hotel she could barely pronounce, now about to speak on a stage that once felt like fiction. Outside, over 300 guests filled the event hall, NGO leaders, CEOs, celebrities and journalists. The same people who once scrolled past her tray on the roadside were now waiting to hear her speak. She touched her chest lightly. Beneath the fabric, her late husband's pendant lay close to her heart. Not because she clung to the past, but because she had survived it. A stage manager signaled. "You're next." he whispered. Her legs felt like cotton, her palms sweaty, but she stepped forward. The lights hit her first, then the hush of the crowd, then the moderator's voice. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Amara Nwaka. Polite applause. She took the mic, then silence. She looked at them, all eyes, all expectation. She took a breath. I didn't come here today with big English, she said, her voice steady but full. I came here with truth. A few people shifted, curious. I was once a wife, then I became a widow. Then they called me a witch. Whispers. I had a stall. It fed my children. They burned it. My husband's family. They wanted to break me. Her voice didn't shake. But I walked the streets. I hawked. I prayed. I pushed. And strangers became family. Their kindness found me, lifted me, restored me. Now the silence was reverent. I'm not here because I'm strong. I'm here because I refuse to disappear. Applause began, slow, then full. Her story poured out, raw, unfiltered. The accusations, the fire, the pain, the rise. She spoke of shame, of survival, of choosing dignity even when the world gave her dust. By the end, people stood, some cried, some held their chests, and when she left the stage, a woman in a power suit approached her. I'm Ngozi Onwudike, the woman said. I run Renaissance Retail Group. We build community shops across rural areas. Amara nodded, unsure where it was going. We want to offer you a regional franchise, 10 stores, in your name. Full ownership. We believe your story will inspire trust. Sales will follow trust. Amara blinked. 10. Ngozi smiled. To start with, if you say yes. She couldn't speak, so she nodded and hugged the woman without thinking. Because in that moment she realized the girl who once hawked chin-chin under the sun was about to become a national name. But while she rose higher, back in her village, something darker was brewing. Something she thought she had left behind. Amara returned to the village under the weight of glory. Banners had gone up. Her face, smiling and fierce, was printed on flyers across town. Amara Mart, grand opening of 10th store, sponsored by Renaissance Retail. Musicians tuned their instruments. Market women rehearsed praise songs. The air buzzed with celebration. But beneath the cheer, shadows moved. Okoli was watching. He hadn't forgotten the humiliation, the police, the viral video, the whispers that followed him into every bar and family meeting. He had lost power, and he blamed her. She thinks she's better than us, he spat one night to his younger brother, his voice laced with palm wine. We gave her our name, now she spits on it. That week, strange things began happening. First, the generator powering her flagship shop was stolen, broad daylight. Then, a shipment of rice meant for opening day disappeared on its way to the village. Finally, one night, flames licked the edge of the new shop, caught early, but intentional. A message, the same way they burned her the first time. Only this time, they weren't ready for the woman she had become. Amara didn't panic, she didn't cry. She called a meeting. Under the mango tree near the village square, people gathered. Shopkeepers, youth leaders, elders. Even a few of her former in-laws, arms folded in silent judgment. She stood in the middle. No tears, no trembling. They burned my first stall, she began, and I said nothing. They lied about me. I forgave. They tried again, and I stayed quiet. She took a slow breath. But I will not be silent anymore. Murmurs. People leaned in. From today, we will protect women who build. We will defend our own. She reached into her bag and pulled out documents. This is a petition against repeated harassment, against intimidation, against sabotage. The police commissioner in Owerri has seen it, and I will not stop until they act. She turned to Okoli, eyes steady. You want me gone? She asked. Then try, again. But know this, every time you strike, I'll rise higher. He stared back, stunned. The crowd was quiet. Then someone clapped, another joined. Soon the whole square echoed with applause. The next day, local press published it. Widow who rose from ashes now fights for others. New anti-harassment movement begins. She called it Oluwaka, the strong hand. Within weeks, she had helped 3 other widows reclaim stolen land, paid for a lawyer for one woman whose in-laws had seized her home, and launched a radio program titled Voice After Loss. Her name became more than a brand. It became a force. Months later, while seated in her office above the first Amara Mart, she looked out the window at the compound where it all began. Her children played below. Customers moved in and out. And behind the gate of the Nwakoye house, nothing moved. No threats, no pride, just silence. She smiled, sipping her tea. They burned her once, but they forgot. Ash can't destroy gold. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Thank you. We hope to see you in our next